Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Thread. Another day, another thread, and we are glad to be here.
So we have a 4-day week, Monday through Thursday, and this is the Thursday edition.
Listen, it ain't easy.
It's an interesting commitment. It's a pretty regimented type of thing, and I have to make sure I'm here every day, which is not so easy.
No, yeah. And it might sound like silly for people to be like, oh, you're just talking in front of a mic, but there's a lot of planning that goes into these things, and it's just, what can I say?
You got to think of things that, but interesting thing is that there always is an abundance of things.
Yeah.
And after we finish each program, we just say, we didn't discuss this, we didn't discuss that.
That's like the purpose of this podcast. There's so much that happens every single day.
How long do you think we could talk for if we do it? Didn't want to limit it to a half hour. You think we can go on for hours just talking?
I think so.
We should try that one day.
Not today, though.
No, not today, no. I mean, have like a marathon.
Maybe.
just I don't know, just talking about things. Of course, the way it works in life in general, usually, one thought leads to another. That's how the thought process works.
Yeah. So we're going to stray a little bit away from politics today. I think we really focused a lot on politics this week because a lot was happening. We'll give you a little break from politics and speak, I guess, more about things that pertain to the Frum communities. For starters, Sunday I'm going to be in New Jersey with Nissen and Yochanan. Are you coming as well?
I have a wedding Sunday night, so I don't think I'm going to go.
Okay, so we're going to the Kinnus Hashluchim in New Jersey.
Okay.
They expect 6,500 people to be there. Keynote speaker is George Rohr. So we're very excited about that. You can make sure to sign up to the Thread WhatsApp account, WhatsApp status, and we're going to be posting live stuff from the Kinnus. Should be very exciting. We'll be asking different questions to different shluchim from all over the world. Now,
George Rohr is a very interesting man. He has, I believe he's in the oil business in Russia going back many decades and other parts of the world. I don't know that much about his business, but if you go to a Chabad house, usually anywhere in the world, you're going to see George Rohr's name because he is known for getting Chabad houses going in the various locales around the world. And we have cousins, besides Chaim Scholl, who's in Bozeman, Montana. Besides him, who's in Bozeman, Montana, we have cousins in Johannesburg, South Africa, in
Birmingham, Alabama,
Melbourne, Australia, New Orleans, Louisiana.
We have cousins in 770. Avram Gordon.
He's at the airport, right?
He's the Chabad. Bendel Brandwein, who's in Taiwan now. So all over the world, they're doing incredible stuff, and I can't wait to be there Sunday to partake. Do I wear my kapata by the Kinnus Hashluchim? No?
I don't know. I don't know. You have to ask someone that has greater expertise in that subject than me.
This week's parsha is also Parshas Chayesar. You okay with your voice over there?
I think I'm okay now.
I know you had a really not a good coffee this morning, or you're drinking.
No, I'm drinking it right now. It's just I had this problem before. It's just not hot, And coffee's supposed to be hot. It's called hot coffee.
Can I feel it?
It's called hot coffee, right?
I feel like I'm gonna.
This is just coffee. You
yes,
see,
it's not so hot.
If you could hold the cup, then it's not hot
without
coffee.
the sleeve. I hear.
It's not really hot.
This week's is Parshas Chayesar, and Parshas Chayesar, of course, in Chevron, people are camping out in tents outside of Mahar Machpelah, but also it's the week of Shidduchim.
Well, it's the breakout year after COVID. Of course, last year there was still a reluctance to travel. There was limitations to travel, and they only allowed X amount of people into Chevron for Shabbos. But this year, according to Dan Rosenstein, who's the executive director of the Chevron Fund, who used to live here in the Five Towns before he made Aliyah, he says there's going to be the usual, probably 30,000, 40,000 people that are going to be there. And it's very elaborate. I spent one Shabbos there.
You did? You slept in a tent outside?
I didn't stay. No, I slept in a luxurious yeshiva dormitory. Very, very, luxurious, tongue-in-cheek, we should say. But they don't have 5-star hotels in Chevron. We were looking over our window in our room overlooked what they call the Abu Snena Hills. That's where the Palestinian snipers usually shoot from. And so I just kept my head low. I made sure that if I got near the window, I ducked.
Yeah. Okay. So this week is known as the Parsha Shidduchim. You want to elaborate?
Well, Sarah passes away and she's buried at the Mahar Machpelah. And Yitzchak is already 37 years old. Okay. and he needs a shidduch.
37. He's considered like an older single nowadays.
Yes, I'm very fond. I discovered many years ago that this could be the forerunner for what is known today as the shidduch crisis. But you also see that Avram and Sarah had a 37-year-old son that wasn't married. You see the chesed of the Rabbanu Shalom in this. How do you see the chesed, the Rabbanu Shalom? They could have had a 37-year-old daughter, and they were. Then they would have had a different.
I don't know how that's going to go over, but we'll let it fly.
No, it's a joke, but that's but you guys you understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, Avram Avinu sends Eliezer, his faithful companion and servant, I should say. I guess it's not politically correct to say servant, but anyway, he sends Eliezer to find a shidduch for Yitzchak Avinu, and he finds Rivka. He sends him in a faraway place to members of his family, and he finds her in a family of Besuel, who is what they would call today not Jewish or not from. I'm not sure about the lineage, because the Jewish people weren't born yet. There wasn't such an identity yet. Avram was the first Jew, but the thing that we were discussing before is that the Torah uses 67 psukim to describe how Eliezer traveled to the area where he found Rivka by a well, and he prayed to Hashem that how is he going to know who the girl is for Yitzchak? And the Torah, the Pasha that we're going to read this Shabbos, says that he asked Hashem to show him a sign that if she offers him water, and then she also offers him to have water for his camels that he's traveling with, then that's the girl. And that's exactly what happened. And the Torah tells over that story. And then Eliezer tells a story over to Besuel, the girl's Rivka's father. So that's why you end up with 67 psukim, just dedicated to describing a shidduch.
Why? I mean, we know that every single letter in the Torah is accounted for a reason. It's like,
all right, but the fundamental, the foundation of society is marriage and family. That's how the world gets populated, and that's how the world advances and grows.
I mean, from that story, I feel like it's a raya that we should maybe girls should be the ones getting the resumes first. It was on the ball was on Rivka's court to bring Yitzchak water, and that was a sign that was a match. Well, maybe also was a sign that the girl should pay for the meals.
She was out there. Doing her work for her father that day, and when she just encountered a stranger, which happened to be Eliezer. Whether the girl should be more aggressive, you think? And
aggressive, just an active. I'm about paying. I'm kidding about the paying part.
We'll park that with people changing their agenda to run for vice president for a third term. And we'll address all those problems on a different day. Okay,
but this is a story that's from Sivan Rechav Meir, which is very appropriate for this week's parsha. As soon as he completed the burial of his wife Sarah, Avram thinks of the next generation, specifically about finding a wife for his son Yitzchak. Thus, he moves from death back to life. So this is a story about, again, like I mentioned, Sachi and Tzila. And Sachi recounts as follows. After having lived for quite a few years in the Nachlalot neighborhood of Jerusalem, I was surrounded by friends, had been so many Shabbos meals where there were lots of people, and gone on many dates without success. Then when I was 36, near the age of Yitzchak, 37, my mother died, and something changed. I felt an emptiness and sadness that I'd never known before. Many thoughts went through my mind, the main one being, how is it possible that I never got to have my mother walk me down to the chuppah, that she will never see my children? I would go to sleep with these thoughts and wake up with them in the morning. I kept going out on unsuccessful dates, and one day I thought to myself, instead of going out on another date and investing energy and coffee in someone I don't know, what if I took a different look at this? And what if I took a look at someone who I already do know? I started a campaign that I called, in my mind, Make Your Friend Your Wife. For the first time, I looked around myself with a serious and different attitude. I found that I really did know great women at work and in the circles of my family and friends. So what was the problem? The problem was that I already knew them. I picked up the phone and I called Tzila, and even though she knew me, I asked her out, and she said yes. And that's how I found the love of my life. Was it awkward? Of course it was awkward, but I think it's better to be a bit awkward and today be happily married and father of 4. After the wedding, I gave my wife a second ring, one that had belonged to my late mother, and told her that the words of the verse, Yitzchak was comforted for the loss of his mother, have been fulfilled in me.
It's a very touching story. Really, it's an emotional thing. But also, if you want to, and we're living through what they call a shidduch crisis.
Yeah, that's what they say.
I mean, listen. If you're married and you have children, you have a nice place to live, you have an apartment or a house, and you drive a car and you have a job, then you don't know about the crisis. But we know that there's a shidduch crisis. There's a lot of girls and boys of advanced age for marriage in our community anyway, 30s, 40s, and higher, and it's a struggle, and you see that. I know I made a few shidduchim in my life.
You have flex.
Yes, we're not going to go through the names, please, but right now, because then we're going to have to do a 2-hour show. But we could do that some other time. I have some great stories to tell.
You do.
But what did I want to say? I wanted to say that very often you call a guy up with an idea of a girl, and they say exactly that. They say, "I know her already. I know her already," and that eliminates her as a potential candidate for a shidduch because I know her already. What this young man is saying, Tzachi, he's saying that he searched his mind and his soul, and he said, "Let me look at the girls that I know already."
You think it's something that can be replicated in mass?
It could be. I'm not going to say that it's going to change things 100%, but if you're using I know them already as a reason why not to go out with somebody, that needs to be looked at. You need to you need to analyze that in your own mind and think to yourself whether that's the right thing. Look at this guy. He was 36 years old, and he was living with his mother, apparently, till she passed away. Then he was alone, and it troubled him.
Make your friend your wife. It has a nice ring to it for sure. I wonder how people will take to that. Make your friend your wife.
It's a nice campaign. It's almost as like Meaningful Matches.
Yeah, that never really took off.
Listen, because we only discussed it in my kitchen. So
it's true, and I was still single when I started. I think I was.
You don't have to throw. Nachi's a very busy guy, but you don't have to throw resumes at us. But we should look into it sometime down the road in the future to do.
What you're suggesting is that people don't even have to send resumes. Just look at the people in your own life you're friends with. If you're a guy, that girl that you ended up by a Shabbos table with 15 times already, that, oh, no, I know her, we're friendly, make your friend your wife.
But maybe we should try to make our contribution to breaking the logjam and facilitating some shidduchim,
we spent Shabbos, we spent actually Yontif in Muncie, and we had the opportunity to bump into Rabbi Shai Levin, who started this organization
10K,
in honor of his
10K Bati Yisrael.
Yeah, in honor of his son and his, at the time, his future daughter-in-law, Yisrael and Elisheva, who passed away. 10K Bati Yisrael to make 10,000 shidduchim, and it was really a campaign to get people to think about. Even you don't have to be a shadchan to make a shidduch.
It's a few years already, and through his efforts, he didn't make 10,000 shidduchim, but he made a few hundred.
He definitely had over, I think, close to 10,000 shidduchim read.
That's the Achilles heel of the Frum community.
Is it?
What?
Can I tell you what I think the Achilles heel of the Frum community is, and it might be hand in hand? I want to preface it by saying that I think that we're all doing the best. Everyone's doing the best we can, and whenever we have these discussions, we can't compare it to the non-Jewish world, because if we do, we're doing an incredible job. But we can only compare ourselves to what we did yesterday, and we're always trying to improve as a community. Mm-hmm. So it's not as if, we're criticizing the Frum community. We're just looking for ways to get better and grow. I think that, and maybe we'll spend another episode discussing something like this, but I think that rejection is a difficult part in our circles when it comes to high school, when it comes to seminary, when it comes to shidduchim. And I don't think we really give enough credence to how much the rejection actually plays a role in our kids' lives, like an 8th grader or a girl in seminary getting rejected from 3-4 schools. What that does. I'm not saying I don't know the solution. I understand not every school can take every person, but I
know a guy. He's in his early 30s, and whenever I try to read him a shidduch, I talk to his mother. Whenever I try to read him a shidduch, I could tell, I could sense after all this time, he went out with 1 or 2 girls that I suggested, but I must have suggested over the last few years, 20 girls. And I see that he's analyzing who they are and what he's anticipating their response is going to be after the first date. And, maybe he's been turned down too much and he wants to keep himself out of those types of situations.
It's a difficult thing, and I think that it rejection is a part of life. It happens when you're married. It happens when you have going for a job interview. It happens if you're, trying to get a business deal done. But I think that when it happens to younger members of our community, it leaves a lasting impression that it's hard to really come.
Of course, it's traumatic, but it happens to.
Let me ask you a question. A girl who applies to 3, 4, 5 high schools and gets rejected by all of them. What is she supposed to like? What is she supposed to do? What is she supposed to feel like?
That's very insensitive. The school should.
But a school's supposed to take what's the solution? A school should just accept.
There's always a place. There's always a place for people.
A place thinks that I'm not that place.
The fact that a school year or a seminary year starts and a young lady or even a young man doesn't have a place is unforgivable.
Yeah, but Abba, I think that even the fact that it gets that far. We recently had an episode of Meaningful People, and Rivka Shotgun was the guest.
Right.
And she's paralyzed from the waist down, and now she's not. Now she's not in school. She's schooling at home. But she had mentioned in passing in the interview that she applied to high school after high school after high school, and she got rejected and rejected and rejected. And it came to a point where she just didn't believe in herself. And ultimately, she did get in somewhere. But you see the effect that it has in someone. It makes them feel like nothing. And even if they do end up being taken in, who wants? It's like getting picked last as a kid standing up against the wall, you're getting picked last to the volleyball game or the dodgeball game. It's insensitive. And as a community, we're always trying to be sensitive and do the nice thing and the kind thing, and we're always trying to push the needle forward. And I think this discussion is part of that. Like, what are we doing? We can't have people feel like Shrine.
I heard a few years ago, I think about schools in Lakewood. I think when Rabbi Leib Steinman was still alive, and there was X amount of kids, maybe 50 kids left out, had no yeshiva for the year. He directed leadership in the community not to open any schools, until they all have a place.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. So it's let's say the school year starts September 1st, and now it's September 5th, and the schools are closed because these 50 girls don't have a place. How are those 50 girls supposed to feel?
Okay.
How are they supposed to feel already at that point? Let's say they're gonna get in. How do they feel?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer, but you have to have some kind of an executive committee that oversees the overseers. And takes a step back and looks at the big picture and has a list of people and makes sure everyone knows people in key positions.
But I think that first of all, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. We hear this so often about when it comes to seminaries and high schools. I know when seminary. I know just from running Meaningful Minute, when seminary decision day rolls around, when seminaries are giving their answers to the students. Girls are sponsoring Meaningful Minute videos so they get into seminary in droves. And it just makes me sad because, it's such a stress of we're not going to get accepted, and many don't. And it's just we try to be so sensitive in so many different areas of Jewish life, and I think that we could do better. We could do better in this area.
But some, of course we can. I have a friend a few years ago had a daughter that wasn't getting into any high school. Didn't, at least not the high schools that she would have preferred. And they were her parents were beside themselves. They didn't know what to do. I happened to speak to them about it. We were talking about something else. I met them at a hotel somewhere, and they mentioned it to me. And all I had to do was I knew someone that knows the rabbi that runs that school. All I had to do was speak to this fellow that I knew who was friends with the head of the school and tell him what we were looking to happen. It happened in 5 minutes.
But what about the family that doesn't have pull? What about the family that doesn't have money or pull? What are they supposed to do? They're good. Again, it's a prime example. Rivka Shotgun, the whole world is chalashing over her now, inviting her to come speak in schools and organizations. Right. And this is the girl that 2 years ago wouldn't get into the high school that most likely is inviting her to come speak now. What about the ones that we miss out on? What about the people who are...
Some people will tell you that that's how character gets built. By rejections, because the whole there's rejection in life on all levels.
It could be,
and you have to figure out a way to overcome it. I think Churchill said Winston Churchill said that success is what happens in between failures.
I totally get that, but it doesn't excuse the people who are doing it. I think.
What do you want to do to them?
Who?
To those people that are not accepting kids into the school when they're maxed out and there's no more room in the school. What should they do? Stretch the school? What should they do?
I don't have the solution, but I think there needs to be a solution.
Open up the schools. I mean, we have a lot of. We're sitting here in these 5 towns. There's been a lot of new schools opened up in the last few years to accommodate the growth, Baruch Hashem, of the community. Just you need more schools.
I think
someone
that
was in my house yesterday.
Yeah.
It was opening up a yeshiva. It was opening up a yeshiva. We can discuss it at a future time, maybe, for dyslexic kids, because he says they're not accommodated in the yeshivas, and he spoke to me about yeshivas that you're familiar with that have a name of having kids that are acting up or are what they call OTD or off the derech. And he said to me that he found that most of these kids are acting up and underperforming in school and being thrown out of schools because of learning disabilities and the frustration that comes along with it and the inability of the schools to accommodate, to work with them. So this guy's opening up a yeshiva for boys and girls, separate, just for dyslexic kids.
I think that's amazing, but I also think that when it comes to a pool of kids who aren't getting into schools, and the kid is a good kid, and they have potential to be a gem, a star, but maybe they can't read Rashi the way that you want them to read Rashi, or they can't read the Gemara the way that you wish they read the Gemara. Maybe take another look at them, and maybe think that, you know what, if we can invest in this child, if we could put in the right kayach and the right chinuch into this kid, he could be a star. I think that schools need. I don't know. I don't have the solution.
You want to open a school?
Meaningful
minute school?
No, but I want communities to take a chayas for especially for the children in their communities,
you have
and to make sure that no one feels neglected and rejected.
You have to break that down. You say things, and you have to define what is a community.
A community. What does that mean? What is a community?
There's a community. What? It's a geographic community.
I think if a girl lives in Muncie, then the Muncie schools
who's in charge of Muncie?
And then all Muncie heads of schools need to get together and figure out where all these girls are going to end up. And if a girl lives in Passaic, then all the schools in Passaic need to get together and figure out where all the girls are going to end up. If a girl lives in the 5 towns, then all the schools in 5 towns need to make sure that every single girl is accounted for. And if they apply to their school, they have to make sure that one of the schools are taking them, and not just taking them as a favor or getting pushed in and made feel like garbage.
So who's going to coordinate that?
I don't know. Maybe Torah Masora. I don't know.
I don't know anything about Torah Masora. I don't know what they do. I don't know if they have the ability to do that.
Maybe they're good. I don't know. Why can't we get our act together? Why do we always have to see these headlines every year? How schools delay open because 15 girls are not accepted. It's
are there kids in those communities today? Now where it's November 17th. Are there kids in those communities that are just home because they're nowhere?
I have no idea. I don't know. But that's not my point. My point isn't if they're just home. My point is, how are they made to feel if they had to be pushed into a school and had to be called in favors from their great uncle and great aunt, and they have to go there knowing that they're in on a favor and on probation because of what? Because they're not academically as smart as everyone else?
You want a perfect world.
I don't want a perfect world.
No, we all want a perfect world, but it's not possible.
I'm not asking for a perfect world. I'm asking for more sensitivity when it comes to our children. And I think that it leads, the issues that kids could have when it comes to the rejection of high school and seminary certainly leads to the issues that we have when it comes to shidduchim. I 100% believe it. It leads to one leads to the next.
Well, listen, it's not a pleasant
Tell
thing.
me something. If a guy or girl gets rejected by every single high school and they have to be taken in as a favor and have to go through that awful process, when it comes to getting married, do you think they're going to be like, gung ho about it, and they're going to be saying yes, and they're going to be dating well?
Listen, we're all the sum total of our experiences, and that's life. We're frail human beings, and we have to deal with the challenges that are presented to us in our lives.
I'm saying we could do better, and we always find ways to do better. We always find ways to do better, and I think in this area we could find a way to do better.
All right, let's come up with a plan on how to do better. I bet you if we were live on the internet now, or wherever this goes,
people would have ideas.
And you had phone. First of all, no, you would get 9 out of 10 calls will be people that have these exact problems.
Yeah, people can relate.
Maybe somebody in the mix would have an idea about how to repair the damage that's being done to young people that stays with them for their whole lives.
For the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
And guess what? You can go ahead and just message us on WhatsApp on our status account. The link is in the show notes and description, or you can email us at thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. It'd be my greatest honor if through this podcast we can affect change. We can actually make a difference, because these things really bother me. It's just like, and it's, I don't want to, there's no blame to be had. Principals, teachers, everyone's doing the best they can. But I think that as we can all do a little bit better together.
So you said that spills over into shidduchim, you said?
I think so, 100%.
So we know a shadchan, very prolific shadchan, very sought after. And he told me he makes 50 shidduchim a year.
50.
Okay. And he has 1,000 unanswered emails in his mailbox at any given time.
Okay.
that he can't answer.
Well, you have 500,000.
Yeah, but I'm not a shadchan.
Okay.
I mean, not really. I'm a casual part-time shadchan.
Yeah.
Unprofessional. This guy's a professional.
Okay.
And I said to him, why don't you respond to these people? He says, if I respond to the 1,000 people that write me all the time, I wouldn't have time to make even the 50 shidduchim. Because it's a lot of work is invested in making these 50 shidduchim. A lot of very time-consuming. And once they start going out, it looks like it's going someplace, it gets complicated very often. And needs needs a third party that's a little bit disconnected from the emotions to be involved in the mechanics of making it work.
I don't know. I hear shidduchim is
Listen, in my opinion, the whole thing is being mismanaged. I have friends that have kids in shidduchim, and it's mismanaged.
I think it's a very bold thing to say. It works for a lot of people.
Yeah, it does work for a lot of people, but it doesn't work for a lot more people, I think.
Yeah?
Well, you're the one that's saying that even if it doesn't work for 2%, it's a tragedy. So are you okay
am I
with,
saying
are you
that
okay
when
with
it
that?
comes
Are
to
you okay with it
shidduchim, or
not-
am I saying that when it comes to rejection in our
Are you
young
okay with
kids?
it not working for 5% of the people?
What, the shidduch system?
Yeah. They're
I don't think we ever.
men and women in their 20s, 30s, 40s,
I don't-
and 50s unmarried because it didn't work for them.
I don't think we could ever be okay with it. I think when it comes to the Jewish world, we value every single life as a world, and I don't think we could ever be okay with a margin of error like that. I think we always have to find ways to innovate and make right. Maybe we'll have solutions. Maybe it's the only way to get a solution is to start the conversation, and we're certainly not starting the conversation. The conversation's been having for decades, but maybe not in this venue.
No, we haven't been getting anywhere if it's going on. The conversation's going on for decades. Then nothing's really happening. It's like the New York Knicks. They haven't been in the playoffs, 10 years, 20 years?
A nice win last night, though. So let's gonna go ahead and read some feedback we got from some mail, but we got a lot of WhatsApp messages. So guys, make sure to hit that up. Someone responded, to my claim yesterday. Why do you think Ivanka doesn't want to be involved in this time around? And they said, I think Ivanka does not want to align herself with her father. If it was really about her prioritizing her family, she could have said that at a later time. I think it's just an excuse. The presidency didn't end well, and she does not want to align herself with her father. So I happen to agree with that. I think that that's true. I don't think Ivanka is partaking in this election for that reason. Let's check out some more. We got another email here. I don't know if they want me to say their name, so I'm not going to. Hi, Nachi. I truly enjoy your podcast. I'm awed at how you co-host the podcast with your father. Two of you often have opposing views, such as Zionism, politics, and anti-Semitism, along with the fact that you have 3 phones. Yeah, thank you. Yet you respectfully navigate the conversations. I personally struggle with getting emotionally involved with my parents. When my parents oppose my opinions or challenge my preferences, this is a daily reminder on how to actively listen to others and stay out of the pool when they get personal at my opinions. Thank you for the great service for Klal Yisrael. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Interesting observation.
Yeah.
So we haven't had a real fight on the podcast yet.
Yeah.
We never had a fight.
No, ever.
Well, it's because you're the sixth of 6, and I spent all my energy.
Yeah. Another email we got here is, hi, I love the daily thread. I just wanted to respond to the idea of Nachi not speaking too strongly about the Arabs in the Israeli government since he doesn't live there. I disagree with the notion that someone who doesn't live in Eretz Yisrael shouldn't express strong opinions on its government. Eretz Yisrael belongs to all Jews, and it's the duty of each Jew to make it their business and to care about what goes on there. Just because we are in America doesn't make any of our Jewish identity change. Israel needs the American Jewish support. The alternative would be lots of Yidden living in America and not caring about Israel because they don't live there. Not the kind of reality that I want to live in, nor does it sound consistent with what the Torah demands of us. Eretz Yisrael is still ours, even if we don't live there yet. Thank you for the amazing platform. I agree, honestly. I heard what you said yesterday about if you don't live there, then don't talk about it. But the Israeli people need the Jewish people in America.
You're talking 2 things. You're talking about extremes again. Live there or don't live there. You could be critical of things that you don't like in Eretz Yisrael, but you have to temper it down. You have to turn the volume down a little bit because you don't live there.
Okay.
Of course, you have a stake in Eretz Yisrael. I agree with that. All Jews have a stake in Eretz Yisrael. There's no question about it. And more than just from a distance, we all have family there. You have cousins, nephews, nieces, children very often. So you have a stake, even if you're sitting in Lakewood or the 5 Towns or in Miami Beach. You have a stake of some sort.
I hear. The final story that I just want to mention for today, and that'll be our episode, is a new star emerging from Yeshiva University, and that is Zevi Samit. He's from Muncie, New York. He had 11 3-pointers last night. He finished with 40 points in his home debut. Something that stood out, and this is I'll put on the screen over here. Tweet from Aaron Whedon. He just walked into the gym to check on Zevi. He looks at his stats in the stat sheet and says, "I'm definitely not looking at my phone tonight. Got to shower and get to 10:45 Mariv."
He's a freshman?
I think he's a freshman at YU. I think sophomore or freshman.
I saw that he's 6'1", and he had 11 3-pointers last night.
11 3-pointers. He went to Rashid in Israel for yeshiva, and now he's playing with a velvet big yarmulke on his head in Yeshiva University. You know, we mentioned a little while ago about Ryan Terrell. Like, it could be Ryan Terrell is paving a new path, paving a new path from Jews being serious about basketball.
That's great. Ryan Terrell wears a knitted yarmulke. I think the velvet yarmulkes are way more, so I think they're less likely to fly off.
Yeah, stark.
Or
maybe it might hurt his vertical, though.
Or you could use more pins to keep it down.
Maybe. Anyways, that's our episode for today. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe, leave a rating, a review. We'd appreciate it. Go ahead and sign up for our WhatsApp status. That's, the link is in the description. Of course, if you want to advertise on this platform, you can go ahead and message us on WhatsApp. The link is in the description of the show notes. Have a great weekend, and we will see you again on Monday.
Shabbat shalom.